Hey, so we are in Last Epoch, and I want to talk about why I think Diablo 4 players are absolutely going to love this game. As the launch gets closer for a lot of us, we are seeing tons of people saying Diablo 4 players are going to hate this game, but I think there is so many cool features in this game that are not only new and exciting that I'd love to see in Diablo 4, and I think a lot of people would enjoy if it was, as well as some things that are remnant of what we have seen throughout the series that has made Diablo such a beloved series to all of us. Okay, so the very first thing I want to open up here with is actually the bag space. One of the things that I find the most irritating in Diablo 4, as much time as I spent in it, is that they punish you for trying to play multiple classes, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But mainly the way they do that is by limiting how much space you have. Sometimes I want to play through a game and I don't really want to pay that much attention to gear until I'm ready to kind of finalize my build. And other times I just want to collect everything because I don't want to sort it right now. This gives you that option. If you're willing to pay in-game coin to buy bags, then you can do that. There's a little plus here, and I can add a new bag if I want. It does get crazy expensive as you get to as many as I have, but I have a ton in here. But this has been really rewarding, allowing me just to jump in, play the game, drop my stuff off, and keep going if I choose. So I like not having my hands tied, and I'd love to see something like this come to D4. So the next thing I want to talk about is kind of the look or the feel of it. It feels remnant of a Diablo 3, where we have these dark, ominous overtones and cool graphics, and it's really stunning. But they also bring in flashes of bright colors, and that's in the moves as well. I think it's a kind of a nice thing. I know they wanted to go darker in D4, but I think this will, for anybody who's been a fan of Diablo, I think this will make you feel like you're at home again. It also has a good feel of just feeling more real ARPG. You know, if you look at the character, it's not like a cartoony feel to the whole thing. It's very real, like immersive. You're on a serious quest. And I do like that feel. So the next one is one of my favorite things, honestly, in this. And I think people are, once they understand it, are really going to appreciate it. And this game has built in its very own loot filter. And I think I could turn off my screen for a second so you guys will see right under me. So it's not in the way. But in the settings, you can come in here and from the beginning, you can manage a loot filter. And so I actually have, I'll pull up the one I'm actually using right now. So I'm doing a Shadow Dagger build. I'm just going to go and manage my loot. So before we nerd out, this is all like crazy. There's actually just some really cool things going on. This allows me to decide or have the system decide what I see based on what I would normally do. So instead of me having to say no, no, no to thousands of items, it just won't show up. If I'm done looking at magic items or normal items, I just block them and I don't have to see them. And then even better, I can say that if I want to see these, then here's what I want to put in. So first it's kind of daunting getting here and get set with the rules, but it is a game changer because every time you're playing the game and you go, hey, I'm just overwhelmed. I'm tired of like sorting my bag. Most of this is garbage. I don't want to sell it or break it down. It's not even worth it to me. What can I do? So just as an example, I wanted to show people like, this is what would normally happen. If I didn't have loot filters on at all, this is the amount of gear that'd be sitting on the ground. That's not crazy. It's pretty normal for a lot of ARPGs, but it's nuts because this run took me about 2 minutes. So every 2 minutes, I have basically more than enough to fill my bag. And that is just not enjoyable to constantly have to be sorting back through that stuff. With the loot filter, click, that's it. Those items that are on the ground are all the things I actually care about. You know, that's everything I've said, hey, I am looking for that. I'm either looking for the shards for the abilities to then do crafting, which we'll talk about in a second, or I'm actually looking for that piece to possibly equip it and trade out what I currently have. And that is just a really cool feeling. Okay, so as I promised, I said we would get into crafting. This is a powerhouse, and if you guys have tried basically the only version of crafting we really have in D4, I know they're starting stuff with uniques, and so far it doesn't sound so promising, but for real crafting of saying, hey, I'm going to take this item that I found and I'm going to be able to work on it and try to make it something that would be crazy powerful in me. That doesn't exactly exist in Diablo, and I think it does need to come about in a better way, but this is one of the coolest crafting systems I have seen in a game. So let me show you actually live in the game. So I'm just going to move me so we can see everything that's going on the screen. I'm just going to drop one of my pieces in here. I think I saw potential in this. So when I put a piece in here, no matter what it is, it will generally show up, and they have prefixes on one side and suffixes on the other. If it was a lower level item or didn't have all the rolls, sometimes like a rare, like one of the yellows, one of the rares will have only 3, but in this case we have 4 again. This one I've done some tweaking on, so I have no more forging potential. But the way you can actually kind of test this, you can't just do anything to it. Every time you do an action, it takes a little bit more off of those points. till then you're limited on what you can do next. So you always want to be very careful on what matters most when you're doing this piece. But they have the prefixes and they have the suffixes on this side. Then they have these special little glyphs in the middle that have modifiers on when you're trying to like roll for certain things that can help you. And then they have also these runes that also have different effects. So they can take, some can take abilities off. Some just break it down so you can grab the shards that are on here. The shards are going to come in handy because they allow us to put those abilities. So this shard right here is the chance to shred armor on hit. If I break down something, if I was to break this down, I would get these shards, and that would allow me to either upgrade something that has this ability or put it on it. So just think about like that over time, being able to like maybe pick something up that's not even rare, and maybe it's a magical, and it just has 2 items on it, and then you get to decide what the other 2 are. And so as you get in later game, actually the gear does not become very like not important. It becomes, is it relevant to crafting? And that's how you decide a lot of what's going on in your filters, is show me the things that I think I could craft on and really get to that ultimate piece for myself. So the next thing I think we're going to appreciate is that the side quests actually matter. So doing all those things that don't take you on the main storyline or aren't part of the seasonal stuff actually are rewarding to the game as you play through and you complete the side quests, which many of them are actually cool little storylines on their own. And that does happen in Diablo 4 for sure. But these all matter because they actually can add up to additional skill points. So on my skill tree, I actually get points to place here. So they matter. As I clean through those, I get a decent number of skill points just by kind of completing these little side things. So to me, it didn't feel like so bothersome even after 3 times of doing it. It felt really cool because I was like, I can't wait to get that extra point. Okay, so this next one is pretty quick, but I just want to show it because it has added up and it's definitely been enjoyable. It's just a quality of life change that I really, really appreciate. So if I'm out here and I'm doing whatever I'm doing, killing things and whatever's going on, I'm just letting fight these guys. I'm not really putting out the top, these guys are low level, but let's say that I'm here, I'm even in the middle of this fight, and then I want to get out of here. I just want to be done. I can escape. I'm already going to be, it's going to hit me a couple times, but that you're already protected. I'm already back in town. That's how instant the portal is. So no delays waiting to get like, if you get one more little shot from some small guy that doesn't matter, you don't have to clear him. You just hit the town portal and you can escape. So I really just like the feel and flow of that. So the next thing that I actually very much enjoyed is the way they set up the skill trees is just, there's a lot of choice to make it the way you want it, but it doesn't feel crazy complex. And let me show you what I'm talking about. So for the first thing, you have this base skill tree. Whatever ability you have, I'm a rogue, so I have a skill tree to that. As you get to a certain part in the game, it opens up these additional skill trees based on a mastery you want. And you don't just have to put points in one, like pick a mastery and that's all you do. You generally try to put as many points in that if you pick that right, but you can still put points in these other ones, especially when you get into endgame and have a ton of points. You've gotten passive points all the way up to like level 100. There's probably a lot of room to kind of move and play and figure out your own style. So pretty simple. It gives things that are just like good for rogues. As you get far enough in these lines, they open up abilities. And so that just is a really neat way. It's not hard to understand. It definitely focuses a lot more on the abilities in this tree if you're going to go that way. So it just, they've made something very complex. You know, I don't know if you guys have seen the Path of Exile skill tree, but that feels like insanity some of the time. This is just a very clean way to do it. And this might look a little simple at this point. It's like, okay, well, that's not too much choice. Like by the time you consider like what we're doing in Diablo with the skill tree, and then we're going to the Paragon points, where is the complexity coming? Where can I really build this out? And even if you had access to all 3 of these, this is not nearly as much option as you would see with both of those. Well, they have taken one part of the skills that we do out of the tree, and they have actually tied it to the abilities themselves. So up here these are my specializations. If I specialize in something, so all the abilities are accessible. If I specialize in an ability, when I click on that, I actually get its own skill tree. So by doing that, they've made it a lot simpler to kind of figure out and think through and kind of maneuver, while giving the same complexity to give you like crazy builds that are unique and different and your own style of play and that really feel great to you. And so as you get through and you unlock all these specializations, eventually you have these full complex trees. And so this is where a lot of the complexity and freedom comes in, but not so much so in one place that it's overwhelming. And now it brings me to one of my favorite like things in this game, because actually it was really hard in Diablo to keep playing multiple classes. And not to like just start a class and go through it and go through the whole thing, but it did feel a lot like I was just doing everything over again. Now, we had mentioned the endless bag at the beginning of this. And so when we're in here and we have all these things, well, I've been able to keep uniques. So all the uniques I have in here, they have all kinds of levels, some including as low as level 7. So when I'm playing an alternate character, if I'm starting a new class, I've already gone through the storyline. I've already done that. I'm going to have to do a little bit of it, but why not overpower myself a bit by loading up some uniques onto my early build, and then just strip through the early game until I can get to a level where I'm ready to really build out my class and see where I want to go with it. They make that, just this one feature makes it so rewarding to kind of do that. And because you have the infinite bag space, you also can keep a bunch of gear. If you know what class you're going to play next, you can start changing your filters a little bit and then start collecting different items in your bag that'll be ready for that class. So that gets you to a point where you can actually it's more enjoyable because you have this overpowered alt and you can try more of the classes. Because there's been games where I swore I would like this one class and I built through and put so much time in it, and the thought of like doing that with another class just made it impossible. But when I finally did go, I was like, holy crap, I like this class so much more than the one I was playing. This is way more enjoyable. Why didn't I start here? And this, I think, opens up that option with the ability to grind for that material, get the shards for it for crafting, to get the uniques. It just makes it crazy powerful. I was able, in my last pass through, as I was doing the Shadow Dagger here, which is a blast, by the way. It is so much fun. But as I was doing the Shadow Dagger, I was able to start doing some endgame content when I was like level 32 or so. And that's material that generally starts at level 58. So the ability to do that, and I was clearing it very well. I honestly, it took like 2 hours to go do it, and I was rewarded for it because they do have good experience for level gaps. And so I was able to get, like, in 2 hours, I was able to gain like 15 to 20 levels or so by the end of it. So I was almost already ready to do the end game material by the time I had leveled up using it. And so that was just a cool feeling, though, that I didn't have to go and baby step it all the way through for each class to enjoy it. I'm now excited to try the next one and the next one. And so I like that this opened up the playability in a way where I don't feel like I'm punished to playing more. So by the time that we look at the alts or any of the abilities here, they're just great mechanics that I think I'd like to see in almost any ARPG, and we've extremely enjoyable for Diablo 4 players. If you guys are playing Diablo 4 still like I am, make sure you catch this video here.